Cocaine use amongst young females by Angel French, Christian Garza, and Michael Harrison. So we're going to start with cocaine abuse in the United States. Cocaine use has remained relatively stable since 2009. That's 9 steady years of cocaine use, which is absolutely unbelievable. There must be a way to stop the steady growth of cocaine use, whether that be a DARE program get more strict, have more people talk to kids about how dangerous it is and stuff like that. In 2014, 1.5 million cocaine users were recorded to be ages 12 or older. That's insane because why are 12-year-old kids participating in cocaine use? You know we have a huge drug issue whenever there's 12-year-olds doing this hardcore drug. Adults aged 18 to 25 have a higher rate of abuse for cocaine. And this reasoning is because these are like the average ages for college students. College students love to party, and cocaine is known to be a party drug. So there are some positive outcomes for cocaine drug tests. The test can be done on your urine, saliva, blood, hair, or sweat glands. If you're a cocaine user, it would be really hard to get past these tests just because of what they can do with them. If you're a steady cocaine user, it takes about 7 to 10 days for the drug to completely leave your system. If you participate in cocaine every now and then, it takes about 4 to 5 days to leave your system completely. So if you're looking for a job, I wouldn't be doing cocaine anytime soon. The cocaine drug test looks for the presence of cocaine or one of its metabolites or chemicals your body makes to process cocaine. In other words, the test is looking for the chemicals cocaine produces to give your body the high effect. The two most important metabolites of cocaine are benzo and ecgonine methyl ester. These are the main chemicals the drug test looks for. So there are some gender differences in cocaine dependence. Young females may be more influenced than males to developing a cocaine addiction. This could be because they have psychological issues, or they could be trying to impress somebody. Peer pressure is a big reason for why these young females are doing cocaine. It's not acceptable. Women tended to use cocaine more frequently than men in terms of lifetime dependency. This could be because they started using cocaine at such a young age and it becomes harder for them to quit. And the drug also affects them in a different way than it would with a male. So as you can see, gender plays a huge role in dependency on cocaine. On the next slide, there's going to be a video on cocaine dependence.
Cocaine, sometimes called coke, is a powerful psychoactive stimulant that alters how the brain functions, specifically how we perceive our surroundings. Cocaine comes from the leaves of the South American coca plant and has been used for over 1,000 years. In modern times, it's become a popular party drug because cocaine reduces inhibitions and creates a feeling of euphoria or pleasure that lasts between 15 to 90 minutes, depending how it's taken. Around 18 million people worldwide use cocaine, and this is because of its strong potential for addiction and overdose. And also for that reason, the drug is heavily regulated in a lot of countries. To understand how cocaine works, let's zoom into one of the synapses of the brain. Normally, electrical signals or action potentials travel down the axon to the axon terminal, where they trigger the release of chemical messengers called neurotransmitters from synaptic vesicles into the synapse. The neurotransmitters travel across the synapse and bind to receptors on the postsynaptic neuron, where they give the cell a message. After the neurotransmitters have done their job, they unbind from the receptors and can just diffuse away, get degraded by enzymes, or get picked up by proteins and return to their release site in a process called reuptake. Cocaine increases the release of certain neurotransmitters, but its biggest effect is blocking reuptake receptors on presynaptic axon terminals. And both of these actions keep neurotransmitters like dopamine, norepinephrine, and serotonin in the synapse longer and increase their effects. For example, increased concentrations of dopamine in the brain's reward pathway, which includes the nucleus accumbens, ventral tegmentum, and prefrontal cortex, produce intense feelings of euphoria, pleasure, and the emotional high associated with cocaine. The physical high, or feeling of hyperstimulation, is caused by increased norepinephrine concentrations throughout the brain, which produces a variety of effects throughout the body like increased energy, constricted blood vessels, dilated pupils, increased body temperature, increased heart rate, and increased blood pressure. And finally, higher levels of serotonin are associated with greater confidence. Now, cocaine can get into the blood and then to the brain in a few ways. One way is by ingesting it, but the drug's often inactivated by stomach acid unless it's mixed with something alkaline. It's also metabolized by the liver, and cocaine causes capillaries in the mouth and esophagus to constrict, making it even harder for it to get absorbed. A more direct route is insufflation, or snorting it, because the drug is rapidly absorbed through the mucous membranes of the nasal passages, or smoking it, so the drug can get absorbed through the lungs. The fastest route, though, is direct injection into the blood. Typically, the faster cocaine reaches the brain, the stronger the relationship between the behavior and the reward, which ultimately leads to addiction. And this addiction can cause many individuals to keep coming back to use cocaine. Now, your brain is constantly striving for balance. And if you use cocaine regularly, your brain starts to notice that it's constantly flooded with dopamine. As a result, it downregulates dopamine receptors, which means that the receptor is no longer active and the dopamine can't give its message to the postsynaptic neuron. This decreases the effect that a particular amount of dopamine can have in your brain. So if you want to continue to feel euphoric when taking cocaine, you have to take more and more to make up for the downregulated receptors. At this point, you've developed a physiological tolerance to cocaine's effects. More cocaine use means more downregulation. But if the cocaine use stops, then the receptors slowly upregulate again. Alright, so now let's say that you're at rest. There aren't any drugs or anything stimulating your reward pathway. In this situation, your brain keeps your heart rate, your blood pressure, and your wakefulness in a normal state, called homeostasis. Now let's say your secret crush sends you a text. All of a sudden you might feel sweaty and flushed, and your heart rate might jump a bit. You're now above your normal level of homeostasis, because something's changed, right? But it doesn't stay that way for long, and after the text message, your brain brings things back down to baseline. With repeated cocaine use, a few things start to happen. Let's say you take cocaine at a specific time and setting, like 3 p.m. in the bedroom, and because it's a stimulant, it makes everything speed up, including heart rate, blood pressure, and wakefulness. Your brain, being the smart brain that it is, though, will pick up on that pattern. Now, next time at 3 p.m. in the bedroom, the brain preemptively decreases each one, since it knows that when you take cocaine, everything's going to increase again. Now, let's say 3 p.m. in the bedroom rolls around again, but there's no cocaine. In that situation, the brain still decreases everything, but changes aren't countered with the effects of the drug. And so the person can end up feeling awful, and these are called withdrawal symptoms. These symptoms can persist to the point where a person might need drugs just to feel normal. And if that's the case, they're considered to be dependent on that drug. Now, on the flip side, let's say that you use the drug in an unfamiliar setting, like at 11 p.m. at a party. Well, in that situation, your body's not ready for the drug, and there's no physiologic counterbalance to help offset the effect of the drug. When that's the case, it can lead to overdose, even on a dose that the person's been normally taking. And that's oftentimes what happens.
And then my last slide is, so why are females more sensitive to cocaine? Women report more intense highs from cocaine than men do, and they become addicted to the drug a lot faster. This is because the average body mass for a female is a lot smaller than the average body mass for a male. This causes the high to be stronger and affect the female differently than the male. Because the female's body mass is smaller, they are more likely to become addicted to cocaine. Studies have shown that the female hormone estradiol contributes to these differences.